Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey. Thank you for making us as successful as we are because you share this show with other people. And all I ask is that if you have one person that comes to your mind from what you hear today, you just simply share this episode with that person. Because today we have the great John Sheplack, one of the most well-known coaches in the space of real estate, and just got done with a big event that he did, which is coming off the tails of a big event we did. I was watching your success and all the posts and stuff. One thing that I saw, John, before we jump in, is that everyone said that the biggest problem with going to your event is there's nowhere to work out at 4:30 because everyone's at the gym.
That's right. True? Yeah, I'll take that reputation all day long, man.
That was pretty cool. I was a little jealous of that step, but welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. It's a privilege to spend time with you, man.
It's pretty well documented, the success that you've had and the people that coach with you have. And I'm just curious, when we were talking in the pre-show, you were mentioning the fact that it's actually not keeping up with the times and figuring out what the trends are and how to pivot. It's actually quite the opposite. Tell me about that.
Sure. And I phrase it in a way of it's little things in between the big things. And if you take a look at any business, anyone's business today, someone wants to go to another level, someone that is maybe in a slump, someone that is flat. We've been taught so many things backwards. For example, the quote of the windshield's bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. Yeah, because your future is in your past. Because you need a laser focus on the rearview mirror and take a look back at what's worked and what hasn't worked and go a mile deep and an inch wide. Whereas if you take a look at, there's many people and you know, I chose to play in the space of excellence and the place of elite performers, the 0.001%. And in that space, what they're living in is the space of mastery, where you take a look at most people and even good, even excellent, average, they operate in the space of distractions to the smallest of levels. And so,
like, what's the distraction you're talking about?
Oh, a distraction it's really not whether it's AI or whether there's an SEO change or a Google change. No, the distraction is not doing your daily core fundamental activity that you need to do because it's monotonous, because it's boring. And so it's less of the thing that's outside of you or what's next, and it's more of what's inside of you and your principles and how you operate, and understanding that the bottom line is if you build a business, you build a house on a shaky foundation, all those other things just really, really don't matter. So really it's a matter of people's inability to embrace the mundane.
So if you were taking over a client today and they were starting from having already been successful, whatever that means, they've shown that they can grow a business by using discipline. What would you focus on to take them to the next level that they can't already just do?
Well, I've yet to find someone that doesn't have something that they have not mastered. I've yet, because there's always space for growth and there's always more than I think that they have, no matter what level. And again, I've worked with numerous that have been documented number one in the world in their respective brands and models that they operate in. And every single one of them has massive space of growth available to them in the things they already know they need to do and have proven to work. And so the first place that I take a look at with anyone is, hey, what is your core competency? And that core competency to me is, what is the number one thing, in most cases, the thing that got your business to where you're at today? And then B, inspecting, and 99% of the time they've abandoned it, which is the biggest mistake. The one thing that I've learned, A, doing it, and B, being in the highest level rooms literally in the world, in masterminds that I invest in, is that you look at some of the people that have performed at the very, very highest level from firsthand experience and research that I've done still today. For example, you take a look at some of the best marketers in the world. What was their core competency? Their core competency was copywriting. They can hire the best copywriters in the world. And guess what? Guess who does their copywriting? Them. And so the number one thing that I really do typically is get them and take them back to and reconnect them to their core competency that was the massive lever that got them where they're at. Now, that doesn't mean we just stop there, because the second phase of that part is then constantly replacing. For me, I'm a really simple-minded person because I found simple solves the complex. And so then, okay, we don't just stop there. Great. So it's mastery and revisiting and mastery and revisiting. The challenge that most people do is it's like they think they go to the doctor and they get some antibiotics for 7 days and they're fixed and it's fine, and it's wrong. Because what happens is it ends up, they move to the next thing, move to the next thing, move to the next thing. And sure, they can have some growth, but they can't have, like we're talking about, we're in a season, we were talking previously, I've got numerous clients, 40, 50, 60, 70% ahead. That's not happening right now. Like right now in today's marketplace, when you look at business operators in our space, team leaders, I'm grading on a scale from what I get exposed to. If you're elite this year. If you were ahead of last year as a team leader, you are an outlier. And we have tons of outliers. And part of that has to do with the fact that I just keep coming back and revisiting the basic core fundamentals. Give you an example. Client that does about 200 plus transactions a year. This paints the picture. I'm not cheap. It's on my website. It's $100 a minute. They commit to $2,000 for a 20-minute coaching call once a week. Okay. What can you get done in 20 minutes? A lot, because most of y'all talk about riffraff for the other 15 minutes. Yeah. Like it's like, no, we're here to be productive. Right. So check this out, Remington. This is great because it's easy to share the principles, but here it is in action. So last June, we took a look at, we saw a market going, we know what's been happening with the marketplace. I said, listen, we can go tomato, tomato. We can argue over conversations. We can argue over phone calls. But the bottom line, to get conversations in the database with the leads, you got to have phone calls. So which do you want? Phone calls. Cool. Remington, for 16 weeks, so my math tells me that's $32,000 for 5 hours over time. All we talked about every single week was how many dials the agents made last week, how many they make this week. Can we be just a little bit better? Mm-hmm. And then we continued on. We got a week 16. Did we establish a baseline of the core fundamental activity that they knew years ago? We all know the phone works, but we had to come back and inspect and revisit that and get the number. Are we at a base? Yep, we're at a base.
Can I ask them about that?
Yeah.
Because you and I are in the same business. I'm from the franchise side on the vendor side, but it's the same business.
Same. We're all in business.
Yeah, you make the calls, you know your numbers, and the X amount of calls equals X amount of success, rinse and repeat. Here's my question from your standpoint, which if you're focused on that, one, how much are you focusing on the psychology behind why they didn't hit their numbers? And then a follow-up question is, how do you, as their business coach, hold them accountable? What is the discipline that happens? What is the consequence that happens if they don't, so that it doesn't happen again? Because if they're paying you and they're paying you to coach them, it's not like they can get fired or, get fined or anything like that. So how do you, as an outside entity, deal with that?
Sure. From a psychological standpoint, and there's different contexts to this. In some cases, it's the CEO that's hiring me to lead their managers, and then the CEO is sitting on the call. And then really the consequences, those are up to the CEO, right? Mm-hmm. As far as that's concerned. What's the psychology of it? The psychology of accountability is not to condemn people. The psychology is that you would hope that the emotional intelligence and emotion, and I'm not one, I mean, you can listen, there's many ways to do this stuff. But I'm really not one of a some people like to say, oh, you got to shave your head, or this being extreme. Yeah. I just go into self-respect and self-pride because I'm dealing with adults and someone doesn't want to keep showing up, not doing their job. Mm-hmm. That's the basic core piece that we go to. The second piece too is it's been proven by Alan Deutschman in his book, Change or Die, they compared death to, if you were threatened by death, if you don't do your job, you're going to die. We're going to kill you. I mean, kind of morbid. And they even proved that wasn't enough to get people, because what they compared was with people with a terminal disease that were cured, and 97% of them went back to the habits that got them there in a year. Wow. So death isn't enough to change people. So the only psychology is to create tension. So when you look at the psychology of this and language, so because you cannot make anyone do anything, you can only facilitate the best condition. Well, to facilitate the best condition is to ask the right thought-provoking questions, okay? Because self-discovery is the number one way to get a human being to make a choice, make a change, or move into action. And that's basic sales. That's sales, that's coaching. Coaching is sales. You're selling someone into choosing to take an action that they haven't taken or are not taking consistently. So really where I'm at, and this might be interesting for you to hear, yet at the same time, I've got the receipts. My clients have the receipts. I'm not attached to the outcome of any of them. None, because I have no control over it. And so that's another core fundamental, is having the right framework in place when you're sitting with, so what do you want? Okay. Okay. This is what it's going to take. Are you willing to do it? We're going to check in and measure. What gets in the way? What gets in the way is, it's the little things in between the big things. Like this game is 99% mindset and 1% skills, strategy, tactic, period. In anything. If you inspect, Chip Aguero's mindset. I don't need mindset. You don't? Oh, were you consistent? Well, okay. So like people they're so in denial.
Yeah.
So really what it comes down to is there's some simple things. You've got to have someone attached to something emotional, because the heart chooses, mind justifies. Sticking straight in logic, you got to make the calls. That's not sustainable. What is sustainable is having someone attached to something that will emotionally charge them and can change because of the work that they're going to do. So I was just on a coaching call before this, and I was talking to them. You're not bridging the logic, the head with the heart. You're going purely logic, and that's never going to be enough. So it can be self-doubt. It can be personal things going on in their life. It can be all kinds of different impediments that come into play on whether people take action or not.
So you're saying death was not a motivator enough, like the fear of dying, which you would assume is the worst thing.
The ultimate.
Yeah. It's not enough to get, and you see that, by the way, with the, especially Americans. I mean, let's just, point to ourselves for a second. The obesity epidemic, we know the food is not good for us, yet we don't care. We know the things that we're doing to our bodies is not good for us, but we do it anyway because we'd rather be happy now. We have no, I'd rather get the drip now. And you're saying the bigger motivator. So then what's the difference between someone who does find that success in the business? And here's my example. And I wonder how much you were talking about how like the people you're coaching right now are not only even, but they're up. And in a market where it would be really easy to blame the market's down. I'll tell you from my perspective, running franchises for real producers,
Sure.
Our number one category to sell an advertising partnership to is a mortgage lender. And for years, it was, 1 in 4 that we would call. It's just so lucrative for them. Then they were buy. But then 2020 hit, and for 18 months, you saw an uptick, but then it just came crashing down, which it did for everyone in real estate because no one's buying homes, quote unquote. And so what our response was in those times, well, instead of calling 4, now you have to call 8, but call 8.
Really good.
Is that where your head's at when you're coaching these real estate agents? You was like, hey, listen, what are your numbers? When this hit, do you instruct them that because of where the market is, it doesn't mean you're going to be less successful. You just have to work harder?
Right. Yeah, and you're bang on. So, and it's exactly what we were talking about. We talked previously about, we've got 100 plus VA ISAs that are dialing into the top, 100,000 leads in the databases. And so we do beginning of day, end of day, and they're overseen. And right now we just moved them up. You got to double the amount of conversations. Double the amount of conversations. Like right now, the guarantee right now, what we have found is if an agent will, again, with competency and showing up, if an agent will have at least 10 conversations, 10 2-minute conversations a day, they're going to make a decent income.
Yeah.
They're going to make a 10 2-minute conversation. You know what percentage of agents have 10 2-minute conversations a day? Less than 0.001%. It's like unbelievable. It's unreal. And so what we do is we paint the picture of how there's exciting things. And I mean, we talk about, great, there's less transactions. What happens when things get tough? Most human beings freeze. And then those that don't freeze, they just gossip and talk about it and use excuses. And then there's that rare group of people, there's a reason there's cliches, because they're true, right? Like most millionaires are made in the down marketplaces. Well, it's very, very true. It's factual. It's factual because very, very, very few people will do the more that's required because they're programmed. And society has rewarded average. There's a syndrome out there called relief syndrome. And relief syndrome is such that it's kind of like when people hit a goal or they have a good month, relief sets in. And so they scale back down. So there's unconscious thing. Well, I want to sell 10 homes a month. So I sold 20. So next month I can sell 0.
Yeah.
Like the unconscious brain runs the cycle. That's what people don't understand. And so it's how do you inspire? I can't motivate people. How do you inspire?
That's pretty destructive because that builds really poor habits if you hit your number.
Normal. Yeah, it's so normal. It's everywhere. You see it all the time, constantly. And so what leaders have to do, and what I have to do in coaching too, is create there's a missing piece story, because they've got that old program that goes back. What's the missing piece story? The missing piece story is using examples of, hey, here's where you're at. You're more vulnerable now when things are really, really good than in other situations, because here's what you do. You're going to go back to what was the standard. You've created a new standard, and let me share a story with you about Sally, who used to be in that loop and is no longer. And so it's about recording stories over the top of the subconscious brain, which has the loop that they play over and over again. See it with agents, you see it with leaders.
All right, so now I have success. I do what John tells me to do, and I get comfortable. For my lifestyle, I make $200,000 and I buy the house, and my wife and kids are happy. And now I'm just chilling because that's all I wanted. Is there a world in which that's okay? Or do we need to push ourselves for bigger and better things?
Good question. It's case by case. And I would say it's not okay. Here's why. It has nothing to do with performance, has nothing to do with outcomes. Society has created a condition where we do everything to get, and that's not sustainable, because getting is not going to fuel you for a long. You get it, okay? So what? Now what? Getting, so what? Now what? And so I don't think it is, because it's not healthy. I think that the piece is becoming. When you shift over to becoming every single day, who am I becoming every single day? And that's really, it's said in different terms, it's attaching to the process. What do you attach to the process? Because if you commit to the process, you have no choice but to become better every day. And you become better every day. It's all of a sudden, you'll look at people that my experience have been the most elite performers, whether it's peers in or people far beyond where I'm at in masterminds that I'm in. It's like, you look at them and it's like, man, they print money. It's so easy. They're not even trying to. Oh yeah, they're trying really hard. They're obsessed with, did I do the daily core fundamental next right thing right today that makes me better in my personal life and my professional life? And so in simple terms, okay, great. You got the money you want? Fine. Forget about the money. Now obsess over a mission.
So many follow-up questions that I have to that. Well, you're a doer. I watch you and I watch the people that you coach. Those are all doers. I may be wrong, but I don't see a whole lot of people. I don't know that I've heard you speak on someone who wants to build it and then remove themselves from it and then just enjoy life. What is from your last answer, I feel like you have a pretty strong opinion on that.
I really, really do. Yeah, right. Because here's what does happen. What happens is the business tanks. I've watched it happen over and over and over. I always respect confidentiality of people, and everyone's journey is their own journey. Like and every is a pretty sweeping commentary, but there's always outliers. But Remington, like Like the minute, like, well, I want to make more money so I can work less. Well, that's bullshit. Excuse me. No, it doesn't work that way. I want to make more money. Well, make more money requires more work, but you get to leverage yourself and choose the work that you get to do. Like if you want to make the money and get somewhere, now that's where it's a personal thing. Like, okay, that's fine if you want to go over there, but here's what I'm going to tell you: you're going to end up being unfulfilled. So no, I don't promote that at all. I will have, here's the question I'll ask people too. We're talking about people selling 200, 300 homes a month in their operation, and they'll say, okay, I want to go do this. You do? Cool. What else? Well, I want to do these investment things and I want to flip it. Awesome. What else? Okay, cool. Good. One question. What in your business is not operating at least 80% of your standard? So there's my rule, right? So as long as everything, because here's the thing I know about CEOs, they're unreasonable. They're absolutely unreasonable. And my own science has shown me, and I remember one of my team leaders, actually was in the 200s per month. I want to do this, this, this. And I said, okay, what else? Anything? Oh, cool. We can do that too. Great. But transaction coordination? You nailed it. I said, go all in on transaction coordination, get that silo of the business at 80%, then we can explore. I think within 90 days, that person increased their monthly sales by 60, 70 a month by optimizing, then looked at those things. Mm-hmm. While, though, sticking to the basic core fundamentals of the core business.
Okay. Why be successful, John? What does it allow you to do? What is it? I mean, we talked about, I had your wife on. She talked about how much fun she has on the horse farms, and it allows her to spend time doing what she's doing. But like, if I'm just looking at this makeup and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do what John says and I'm going to become successful, and then I'm going to have all this money and time. What do I do with this money and time? How do you instruct that?
Yeah, to contribute to others and set an example for others and create a borrowed belief for others and a pathway for others to experience their dreams, hopes, and desires. That's the whole reason for it. And freedom for your family members and freedom for the people that are around you. Yeah. I mean, in its simplest terms, I think we're here on this planet to do two things: teach and learn. Teach one another, learn from one another, serve one another, and that's it. If you really, there's a lot of things we're here to do, but I think that's the reason.
Those things.
It's unreal. Yeah, it's unreal because one of the things that they teach, and I went through it, or my years of personal development, is how do you make yourself feel? If you don't, a lot of people deal with, loving themselves, and they talk about that and self-respect and self-pride. And what do they teach you in how to love yourself? Go out and love someone else first. Mm-hmm. Because then when you go and you contribute to someone else, it's like, to keep what you have, you must give it away. And there's always someone that has less than what you have. And I'm talking about people that are rock bottom. I help a lot of people. I got sober 17 years ago, and it's the first thing that was taught to me, getting clean. I was always talented, but I had this demon that I had to deal with. And it was the first thing I was taught is because prior to that, Remington, it was, I'm a hard charger. I like to win, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to win. And it was money and win and this and that. And then when I got clean, you don't get clean from the alcohol. You clean your soul of who you become, because you can't stay clean from the alcohol if you're not cleaning your soul. Mm. And that shift right there, you have this self-discovery. Wow, that was the rocket ship for my business. I already had the skill sets. I'm not doing that much different magical. Okay, we got Facebook or this, that. I mean, I don't even have a marketing team. We've got multiple 8-figure businesses. Sure. I don't even have a marketer. No one. I have a VA that plays on Canva in the Philippines. And we're the best marketers on the planet. Hey. I mean, we're coaching people in marketing, right? So, I think it's just keeping it super, super simple, man. The simplicity.
You talked about getting clean, and we talked earlier in the show about your events full of people who get up way too early to work out. That's way too early, John.
It is.
Tell me about the importance of your physical health, and maybe even specifically working out as it pertains to the business.
You bet. And I'll go overarching. Everything going on privately will show up publicly. People don't have a business problem. They have a personal problem. Anything that's going on in business is just a hidden personal problem that's showing up in their business. And that happens to do with relationships, has to do with your health and your wellness. I've yet to see someone get healthier, eat better, drink less, not show up with greater energy, greater self-confidence, and really getting into, I think life is teaching and learning, but I also think life is about the relentless pursuit of the truth. And you get closer to truth in all things, in all relationships, when you got a very, very clear mind. And the other part too is having a common thread and a common belief. Because here's what we know. I don't care who it is. Everyone wants to feel good. Because when you don't feel good, that's the only problem you have. Yep. You have a health problem, it's the only problem. Mm-hmm. It's the only problem.
The sick man wants one thing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So it's that, and it's not one of those things where it's, we ram it down people's throat or all. We're respect. I mean, we've got people know, and I know they know that, because we'll have people that are, might say, "Oh, that's not your avatar." Well, my avatar isn't a look. My avatar is a heart. My avatar is a heart. My avatar is a desire. My avatar is an inside out thing. And so you'll see people that, man, what's that person doing hanging out with a tatted, buff dude that speaks direct and cusses sometimes on the internet? My wife hates. Anyways, she loves me, but she don't like that. She's such a lady, you know that. She's a pro, but I digress. Because what we are is we are a self-improvement personal development company that's just disguised as a coaching company, business consulting company, because every single time when you break things down, you get underneath, it's a personal development issue. So it's critical, it's important. And I'm just proud of the fact that maybe people can come and maybe they need to stop drinking and they stop. Maybe they need to drink less, maybe they need to eat better. I mean, that's pretty cool to us.
I love it. I mean, I subscribe to that. I've said for years that the single greatest thing I did to improve my mental health was commit to working out every single day. And I really believe that. I think there's a lot. I think people think they know that, but they don't realize, like, if they just commit to that, what it does for their mind. I mean, It's just a game changer. John, where can we find you? What's the next things you got going up? Where can we subscribe to your channels?
Sure. Best place, you can go to Chip Black Live is my website, but follow me, Chip Black Live on Instagram, and then just my John Chip Black personal Facebook. You'll find me there. Next thing we got going on, we've got, we do KFR, which is Keep Recruiting. It's a 2-day recruiting, coaching, training mastermind. And so we've got that December 4th and 5th at my ranch in Mississippi. And then on December 6th and 7th, right after that, we have Conversion Con right there on the ranch. So we'll do how do you recruit agents? How do you interview them? How do you prospect? How do you market? And then the next 2 days, we're going to have the best lead generators, lead converters, technology people out on my ranch. And so that's all we've got going on. Otherwise, you're going to find me hanging out with my wife on the weekends. We just bought another horse this morning, as a matter of fact.
Man, you guys are obsessed out there.
Yeah, we are.
Well, I appreciate you being on the show, and do yourself a favor if you're listening to this. And I will say that we've talked about how discipline trumps motivation every single time. But if you find yourself in need of a little motivation to get to that discipline part, do yourself a favor and just YouTube, Google, look up John Chip Black if you just need 1 minute of a kick in the pants. John, thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
We'll see you next time.